Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Innsbruck in Austria, the final race of the 2017 calendar, as we continue our headlong rush to Pyeongchang 2018. Welcome everybody to the Tyrol. We are into the second heat of the women's race. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside with the action. And John, we've got an interesting looking final slide coming up.
Yeah, the couple normal cast of characters, but there's a couple German sleds that are starting to make some noise here as we go into the second heat of this 5th World Cup. And you know, the Olympic champion, Kelly Humphrey, she's got Priscilla George, first time ever on the back of her sled. And Kelly went out 3rd or 6th on the in the race, and she posted a pretty good time. She's at the bottom. She's tied for 3rd to the 100th of a second with Alana Myers-Taylor. No, I take that back. This is Alana Myers-Taylor, who's in 2nd. Yeah, Humphreys is tied with Yamaika, so Taylor's in 2nd. Good start, 2nd best start time for Kerry Jones and Alana Myers-Taylor. They're in position to, but they're all chasing down Stephanie Schneider and Annika Drazik. Well, they had the best start, 5:41 start, and this young German athlete who won her first ever World Cup last weekend in Winterberg, well, she might be getting used to winning races. When you have the best start time in Innsbruck, you usually have the best downtime.
Stephanie Schneider leads by 2400s. Alana Myers-Taylor yet to win a race this season, but never off the podium. Kaylee Humphreys has never won here. She's tied, as you said, with Mariama Yamanka, a 10th ahead of Anna Kohler of Germany. Jamie Grubel-Poser rounding out the top half dozen for the USA ahead of her teammate. Then a little further down, Misha McNaugh, Great Britain in 10th, a couple of hundreds ahead of Jamaica's Jasmine Fenlater. And we have a tie for 13th spot. One sled doesn't go through into the second heat. And that's Konomiya Sazu of Japan. Her teammate Maria Oshigiri just made the cut. So final thoughts and preparations on the sled. You're not allowed to change the runners, but you are allowed to just repolish them to try and get even less friction. There's Alana Myers-Taylor. Hasn't won so far this season. 2 silvers, 2 bronze medals. And Stephanie Schneider, her first World Cup win as a driver came last week in Winterberg. And as you said, looks like she's on target for another. Mariama Yamanka could be in the medals. Tied for 3rd place with Kaylee Humphreys. She's having a really strong season as well, Yamanka. And there's the only Romanian in the field. Andrea Greco is here. And this is her 10th World Cup start as a driver. Her teammate is doing European Cup racing in La Plagne in France at the moment. So here's our start list. 20 down to 1 in reverse order of their first heat performance. Maria Oshigiri goes off first. Head of Belgium's Alfia Willemsen, one of the most experienced drivers in the field now. And then we run down to the leader after the first heat, Stephanie Schneider, who will go last. Schneider, not a winner on this track as a brakewoman. She's had medals, though. And Annika Drazik, the world champion brakewoman 2 years ago here with Anja Schneider-Heinz. So they're going to be a very imposing proposition as they go last of all. Race 5 for the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. The final race pre-Christmas. We're into the second heat as Maria Oshigiri and Mariko Morimoto get things underway for Japan.
Yeah, Brakeman's first year out of in the competition. She's 22 years old from Tokyo. She's a triple jumper. And Oshigiri, we well documented. Oh, mistake there. Drifted a little bit to the left before the first curve. Oshigiri was 7th in the World Championships last year. Hasn't had any kind of form like that. That was the best Japanese finish ever in the history of bobsledding, men or women. And, you know, she hasn't just found it because her brakeman, Kawasaki's been injured for the last 3 weeks and doesn't have the competitive start times to challenge, especially on a track like Innsbruck or Igls, which is such an emphasis on the start.
Tidy drive in the first heat from Oshigiri. She had a little drift there. She's tidied that up in the second run. Nice height in corner 10. Leads you down into the lower labyrinth. And here the speeds, 73, 74 miles an hour. Over the finish line, it's a very short run here, 54 seconds. So
54. 41, a little slower.
Yeah, 1100 slower than the first heat, and it may just be, it's a moderately mild day today that the track is softening up a fraction, and we'll find out as we get another few sleds for comparison.
A little warmer than it was in the first heat, 9:30 in the morning. Now it's 11.
Missed the cut last
now
week.
Look at their sled go to the right here. Something happened there.
Yeah, drifts out, bumps the wall, and that turns her back into corner one sideways.
And then she's got to steer more in curve one. And, you know, it's not about steering. It's about the least amount of steering possible to get to the bottom.
Looks like she might not have had her hands on the steering D-rings as they got out of the spurs, the grooves that allow the sled to run straight. There are those grooves. So while you're pushing, the sled's not skidding all over the ice. Elfie Willemsen, Sophie Verkrijzen for Belgium. Elfie, a 32-year-old, and 25-year-old former basketballer Sophie Verkrijzen.
Okay.
Elfie was 6th at the Winter Olympic Games in Sochi. Part of the Belgian Bullets, had a great run from 2010 to 14. But when you don't have a good start time on a track that has an emphasis on a start, almost you're pretty naked.
5:75 start, 100 slower than their first heat. Speed at the first corner, 29.8 miles an hour compared to Oshigiri's 29.6. They got a little better on board.
Oshigiri had that mistake before she got into curve one that just eliminated any chance for great velocity.
Elfie was 500s in front after the first heat, 1700s now.
She went late in the heat. Oshigiri went 3rd. So Oshigiri had better ice to work with. We did notice, we thought, that the track seemed to be losing speed later on. 1:19.7, good speed this time. See if it's a quicker time, 54.07. She went 54.25 in the first run. Better ice to work with, better time. Something you don't really expect this Elfie Willemsen to be back in 19th spot.
Well, Elfie was in 14th in last year's race. It was a slightly smaller field, but only a couple of sleds different. So a bit more of a smile on her face. That was a little bit of a better run. And, yeah, 2/10 quicker almost.
Well, this is down where speeds are up in the 73, 74, and we got a little airborne because she tried to cross over from right to left, and you look at the error she got, and down at 13, she's a little late again. When you're going 74 miles an hour, anything can happen.
Next up is Sabine Hafner with Eveline Rebsamen on the brakes at the Swiss sled. They were 10th in front of the Belgians, Elfie Willemsen and Sophie Verkrijzen from the first heat. Again, a couple of little errors crept in for Sabine Hafner's drive. This is her second season back as a bobsled driver after 5 years away from the sport.
It's all about the start for these two. 67, 16th best start for one of the twins on the back, Eveline Rebsamen. She's a former 100-meter hurdler. 5:65, pretty much the same what they did in the first heat. In fact, 67 in the first heat. Better speed into that trap up between curve 1 and 2.
29.9 miles an hour. It's a fairly short start area here that demands high leg turnover. And that will suit some brake women and drivers better than others. 2200s up, a 10th from the first heat, so she's almost clean doubled that.
Really, 100.7. That's a similar speed to the Belgian sled, so this is going to be the leader, just a question is by how much.
Yeah. Again, like the Belgians, a little wild and rocky down through the labyrinth.
She'll take it 53.97, so she just went 2/10 faster.
So a 10th from the first heat, a 10th from the second heat, total 2/10 quicker than Elfie Willemsen. So they hold their respective positions against each other.
In Whistler, she was 10th, and in Winterberg last week, 12th. So the firecracker, as we call her, happy.
Yep. Smile back on her face.
The start. Look at the hands come up. There's a great technique there from one of the twins, as we call them. She's got 2 twin brakemen.
Yeah.
What a choice.
Well, I thought that in the first heat, that both girls are getting much, much smoother loading into the sled. They're both brand new this season, never raced before.
Pretty smooth lines. Look how low her head was, in the, you know, and that's aerodynamics in hundreds of seconds on this track.
She starts with the advantage of not being the tallest driver as well. So, next up, Andrea Greca of Romania, 400s in front of Sabine Hafner with brakewoman Beatrice Puiu. Beatrice, 31-year-old. Tells the story of how she was constantly running away every time she saw Paul Niagu coming to try and recruit her. And now she thinks it's actually the best sport she's ever done.
Mother of two, lives in Virginia. She's a track and field coach. 5'71".
They started 66 in the first heat, so a little slower getaway, and they didn't have much to play with, only 400s ahead of Sabine Hafner. Speed is lower, 29.7 miles an hour out of the first 100 meters.
She's going to have to really find some kind of shortcut here, because losing speed all the way, although that was pretty good speed right there.
55.3, same as Alfie Willemsen.
Bringing it back.
Here we go. Well, she took a nice conservative approach on the first run, get it down, make it to the field.
This is better speed than the Swiss sled.
Now she can let it fly a bit down in the labyrinth.
Equal, so I don't think she's going to catch it. Going to run out of track.
She possibly hasn't got the confidence as a driver that the others had. Only 500s behind.
6, so she only went 500s better. The Swiss went 2800s better. Paul Niagu, the chief everything on the Romanian program, looks on, but that's still, this is a young 23-year-old driver.
Yep, this is her 10th drive as a driver in the World Cup. She did 5 last year, and the other 5, she was the brake woman for her teammates Maria
Not
Constantin.
too many times she's beat Alfie Willemsen. Curve 9, this is the second pivotal part of the track. The exit here is so important. She comes off, drops a runner, comes over and, you know, sort of takes her penalty, just slight tap of the wall, straightens out, and then down here, watch the heads. It's a smooth exit of the track. She's up a little high. Wasn't a smooth exit of 12,
well,
13.
From 13th to 18th, we had 6 sleds covered by a 1/10 of a second, so we could see a few changes here. Next up is Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. She was ahead of teammate Alfie Willemsen in the first heat, 100th faster than Angia Grecu, and 500ths faster than current leader Sabine Hafner. Sarah behind Anne this weekend. The little and large of Belgian bobsledding. Ooh, little drifting. See now?
It's not going to help.
Alfia drifted the other direction.
That's best velocity of the first 4 sleds. And she had the second best start. So 900ths advantage. Good driver. Had a rough outing in Whistler. Both Belgian sleds crashed.
500s ahead from the first heat, up to 900s on the splits. Now back down to 500s, so she's losing ground to the current leader, Sabine Hafner.
100.8 is the best, 100.1, way off the pace. Yep. Almost a kilometer down, so now it's red numbers. 300s, she continues to lose, 118.
Oh, big skid. Huge skid in the second corner in the labyrinth, and behind in third.
Best time.
I was just about to say there's only 500s between the leaders and the second place Romanian sled of Angia Grecu, so chances of falling between them are slender. And Anne van Nieuwenhuizen only 600s ahead of teammate Alfia Willemsen. She drops 2 spots.
Unlike her to make a mistake like that.
Well, I'm sure we'll see that again. It got very loose at the bottom.
Look at that change of direction. Now she wants to get over on the take-on, but that change of direction there, that's friction at 25 miles an hour, and here she's just late. Look at the
late height and
then this huge skid. That's worth a 10th. Look at that, the back end of the sled. Watch the back end of the sled come up here.
The brake woman went from the hard shoulder to the central reservation in about 3 feet.
She knows it too. A little Robin Hood in there?
Yeah, definitely. So 5 down, 15 to go. Sabine Hafner leads for Switzerland from Angia Grecu of Romania. Nadezhda Sergeva with stand-in brake woman Julia Belemestink, who makes her first World Cup start in 18 months. She hasn't been on the back of a sled since November 2016.
Track and field background. Her driver started as a brakeman in 2010, went to the front seat after the 2014 or in the 2013, and she finished 16th at the Winter Olympic Games in Sochi.
Sergeva 10th in the race last year here in Innsbruck. And after 15th in the first heat, 10th is 2100ths out of her grasp. So this is not going to be a great day for Sergeva.
She loves tracks like Whistler and Altenburg. She finished 5th in Whistler. Very impressive, but she'll get a chance at our next World Cup, which is in Altenburg, Germany, after the Christmas, New Year's break.
Should be looking forward to that. Best ever World Cup result is a 4th place finish. 1500's up, the gap's coming back down. It was 2:10s. She'll be about a 10th ahead at the line.
It is 53.92. She goes 1800s faster as Mr. Zubkov looks on.
That's about par for the course in this second heat, isn't it? Around 2/10s quicker. Yesterday in the skeleton race, it was somewhere between 3300s and 5000s of a second, getting quicker in the men and the women's races. Well, after difficult training conditions.
Watch the entry into the sled. Oh, yeah, there's some hands coming up there, not in a cohesive manner, and look at the eyes. She's looking way ahead. Look at that. She's in first curve. She's looking way ahead.
Oh, if you're looking in the corner you're in, you're going to crash.
Crash.
It doesn't matter how slowly you're going.
And down here, watch the heads on the exit. She's way up there.
Yeah, there's that expansion joint. You get a big bump if you run out wide there. There's Segova on the left. Russia's Nadezhda Segova, the leader, as Christina Hengster of Austria comes to the line with Val Kleiser behind her. It was supposed to be Sandra Decker's last ever race for Austria, but she was throwing up half the night, so she is not fit to go. Val Kleiser in at the last moment.
Kleiser's track and field background, and Christina, nice smooth entry into the sled, and probably nobody more disappointed at the position she's in than herself. World Championships here a couple years ago, great promise for her to win a medal, and she crashed out in the first run. And then she still finished and fought back to, I think, almost finish in the top 10.
Yeah, she was 6th.
6th?
Yeah.
After crashing in the first run.
Yeah, there was no question, that run completely threw her. She had no idea why it had rolled over on her, but she certainly had the potential for a top 3 finish there. And she's in 2nd place at the moment, though, behind Nadezhda Segova.
As good a line as we're going to see from anybody. Speed, the best we've seen, or 2nd best.
She's coming back. She was 600s in front of Segova.
Going to run out of track.
700 slower at the start, and she slips one. So Nadezhda Segova moves up a fraction, which means I'm going to have to work out how to say her brave woman's name, Yulia Belomestik. Repetition works. Yulia Belomestik, Nadezhda Segova, the leaders. Christina disappointed with herself, frustrated with that drive. Well, she was never on it all the way down.
Well, she looked as smooth as anybody. Ooh, they're a little late there, and a lot of steering right there, but fast on the bottom part of the track. The problem is she had the 5th best start time of the 7 sleds down. And on this track, can't tell you enough about the start time.
Christina Hengster on the left of your shots, Valerie Kleiser on the right-hand side. And we hope Sandra Decker feels a lot better soon. 13th after the first of 2 heats in Innsbruck, Austria. Alexandra Rodionova and Anastasia Kotsetsova for Russia. They are currently tied exactly with their teammates, with their co-driver Nadezhda Segova. Alexandra Rodionova is. So this is a battle for supremacy in Russia.
Driver's probably been down the track twice as much in luge. She was a former World Cup luge athlete, Olympian for Russia.
Beat her teammate by 600s in the first heat. She needs to hang on at least to that advantage. Nice load from Koshetsova behind. They start 5:63, but the start of her teammate of 56 means that she's behind as she sits down. So now Rodionova has to drive her way into the lead.
We've seen some improved driving skills from her this season. But, she just gives up that time at the start. On the tracks like this, you cannot make a mistake. So far, she hasn't.
Little more familiar with these European tracks than she is with the North American ones.
She was down those tracks in luge sleds also. And little mistake there, 100.9. That's pretty good.
Very good speed, better than her teammate, but
119.5.
Okay, here we go. She's pulling away. She's going to go into Christmas as Russia 1, and that could be very important. 53.86 run. Her teammate 53.92. So she beat her in both heats by 600ths of a second to go 1200s in front and don't go up onto the rubber.
7th place in this event last year. So, you know, you look at from year to year, from track to track.
Well, their progress has not been great, has it? Either of the Russian drivers on this track, whereas the Germans have really leapt forward in performance terms.
Curve 9, exit a little late. You saw the heads go left to right here. And now the skid. Okay, you made a mistake. Just tap the wall, let the thing come straight. But she doesn't. She tries to steer out of it, creates more of a skid.
Like everybody else, I think, looking forward to going home for a little break at Christmas. It will be a little break as well. Alexandra Drodionova leads a Russian 1-2. And here is the second of the Austrian sleds, Katrin Beil, with Jennifer Onosanya behind her. Beil's second World Cup race this season. She stayed doing European Cup races while we're in North America. Won 4 of her 4 starts.
51, decent. So you have a hurdler in the front, a javelin thrower in the back. Funny quote about Catherine Brill. She says, "I'm clumsy at everything."
Gets hurt at everything. Not the greatest sport then to be in. However,
she wasn't clumsy last weekend in Wittenberg when she had her World Cup debut for the season. Finished 5th. Surprised everybody.
Yep.
Look at this, 2,500. That's a lot of time on this track. Separate yourself from the sled that just came down.
She was 3/10 up. The gap's coming down. A little rocky at the bottom, but she's trying to let it fly. 1:17.6, 73 miles an hour. Rodionova's going to have the lead at the line.
200. No speed, second heat in a row on their home track. That's strange. Both heats, if you rank the speed, she'd be in the bottom 3 or 4 with the speed on her home track. Last week in Wittenberg, 5th. The first 4 Europa Cup races of the year, which is the second part of the tour, she won all 4 races.
Yep. And good lines, low speed, runner choice. Nothing wrong with the sled. The aerodynamics work. The drive was good. And just not the right runners for the day. Takes a little low line there, but that works.
Yeah, she had great speed. It was way up on top. How do you lose 2,500s at the bottom? She found a way to do it.
She was 3/10 ahead of Rodionova, came in 200s behind her.
Really high there.
Huge high 10-10.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they don't deserve the dirty burgers this weekend, but they certainly did last week. 30 years on from the original Jamaican bobsled team making their mark in the Olympics. Jamaica is back with Jasmine Fenlater Victorian and Carrie Russell on the sled. 200s out of a top 10 run here.
Fenlater's father is Jamaican.
Dudley Stokes, you can hear him yelling at the top. She gets it. Luckily, it's a long straight run here.
5:57.
Well, they did a 65 in the first heat. They were giving it all the beans at the start.
But didn't have very good speed around that first curve with the best start.
Bronze medalist here 5 years ago for the USA, Jasmine Fenlater.
She knows how to drive.
Yes, she does, and she showed that last week.
Tap there. It's not just average speed, but she's 27, 2,400 down to 16, so she's bleeding.
7th rather in Winterberg last week. 1,600's the advantage.
It's coming back.
900s, this is getting close. Rodionova. Ooh, very skinny at the back. Is she going to lead or not? Oh, okay. So she eases the Russians out of the leader's box. You saw Alexandra Rodionova and the very tall brakewoman, Nastasia Kotsetsova. Jasmine Fenlater hadn't fallen out of the sled there. She just disappeared backwards. Carrie Russell, her brakewoman. Good start from them. And there, you see their coach and mentor, Sandra Kyriasis. Yes, that Sandra Kyriasis.
Watch this. I think she gets her foot caught in the D-ring. Look, so she's turned.
Or maybe
like
maybe on the top of the little backrest, the seat. Yeah.
Not a smooth entry into the sled. And when you're dealing with hundredths of a second, she won by 100th of a second at the bottom. Look at these lines. This is not straight, and this is a lot of steering. You're going to see sleds coming up here that don't steer down there, and they're flopping off the curves.
Loosey-goosey, but Jasmine Fenley to Victorian leads for Jamaica from Alexandra Rodjanova and Katrin Beil. 10 down, 10 to go here, still in Innsbruck in Austria. Well, beautiful day today, John. We were forecast to have another snowstorm coming through, but it has turned into really quite a good day. There's Jasmine Fenley to Victorian on the right. And when was the last time that Sandra Kyriasis won here? In fact, Jasmine took a bronze medal the last day that Sandra won here for Germany in the 2012-13 season. And up at the top of the track, you can see the sleds being manoeuvred around. They're all over on the right-hand side there when they're waiting to go. And then they're manoeuvred around behind the start area.
The pit area.
Yeah, exactly right. Carrie Russell there with the mouth guard in. 4x100 world champion for Jamaica. Beat the USA into second and Great Britain into third in the World Championships in Moscow 2013. Misha McNeil, your junior world champion, with Mika Moore, her current brakewoman. Alicia Marie Kittle is the reserve who's here on tour as well. And this combination have started every race so far this season. Well, there are your leaders in the leaders box for Jamaica, and they were just 2/100ths of a second out of 10th place. John, we've got such a tightly bunched field, we could see more risers and fallers.
Beautiful, stunning pictures. A spectacular place that this track is situated in.
There's Great Britain coach Lee Johnson with Bruce Tasker, who'll be driving in the two-man race this afternoon. That's up at 12:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So if you're watching on the BBC Red Button and you're being nagged to go and do some shopping, you might want to play a get-out-of-jail-free card if you can. Four-man racing tomorrow afternoon at a slightly later time. First sled on ice will be 2 o'clock local time here, 1300 GMT. Final pre-Christmas race for women's bobsleigh at Innsbruck in Austria. 10 down, 10 to go. Great Britain's junior world champions, Misha McNeil and Mika Moore. Driver from Consett, County Durham, brakewoman from Cardiff. 10th after the first heat, 200s in front of our current leaders from Jamaica.
It's going to be about starts. 5:57 for the Jamaicans. Let's see what the British can get. 5:65.
So they're already behind as they sit down.
And on the speed of 89 kilometers an hour, 48 kilometers an hour to 48.4 for the Jamaicans.
So the British girls need to drive themselves into contention, and Misha let it fly down at the bottom of the track. She'll have to do that again. She's got a BTC sled from Latvia. That's
better speed though than the Jamaicans.
Yeah, and this sled should fly. The Jamaicans also in a rented BTC sled, so identical kind of equipment. Good line.
Great exit there. One-on-one, that's the best speed. She's got a chance to get into the red. There it is, or green.
Yeah.
There it is.
62.8 miles an hour.
119,
top speed. 74.5 miles an hour. Good run from Misha McNeil, and
great run.
53.85 takes the lead. 300s quicker than her first heat.
That was smooth top to bottom. You know, came out with a deficiency at the start by 800s, so she was already in the red. But good drive lines all the way down the track, best speeds, and she's a top 10 finish. This is the only mistake she made. Up 5.6 above the Kreisel. Little tap there. It doesn't sound like much, but it does when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds. This is pretty good lines here, Martin.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of skids there. Watch the heads. This is the transition, the exit of the curve. You don't see her pop up there like a lot of teams.
If you drill it down off 10, right in the middle of 11 on the take-on, then you're pretty much good to go down the bottom of the track. Next up, Christine de Bruyn, 9th after the first heat. She was 700ths in front of our current leaders. Christian Budnowski behind her. Kristen, an irregular World Cup starter. This is only her fourth ever World Cup start as a brakewoman.
Shot putter and a long jumper.
Christine started on the brakes as well before transitioning to the front seat. Coach Graham Richardson behind with their driving coach.
560 start in the first run. Good entry into the sled by the brakeman. 558.
That puts them in the green immediately ahead of the British duo. 700s their first round advantage, already out to 1400s with a quicker start.
Yeah, but they only have the same velocity as the British. 1200s lead, that's relative to that start advantage. And I thought she drove pretty well in the first run.
Let's see what she can find in the second heat. The first run, you've got to be perhaps a little conservative. There was snow on 2 of the 3 training days, so you're not really sure what the ice conditions are going to be like when you take them on the first heat. Long skid out of 9.
Good speed, though. Ooh, watch out, she's going to be late.
10 to 11.
Had to steer there, a little late there. Well, a lot of steering there. 1800s ahead of that previous clock, only 14 there. So a little steering on the bottom, but
Top
still
speed
she's the
at
leader.
the bottom. Yeah, she's the leader, 78, 53, 78. So she beat the British girls in both runs.
You could really see some steering there in the bottom. We heard that hit on the exit of 10, threw her in the late into 11. She's happy with that top 10 finish. Here's 9, so she started her problems here above curve 10. This is the entrance, hits here, gets pushed over, and then down here she's late. You can saw the head left to right in the transition. Now she's late here. You can see the change of direction of the sled, and you know, this is all at 74 miles an hour. It's so easy for us to sit here and critique the runs. That might be her best finish of the season.
No, she was 6th in Lake Placid. She was 9th in Whistler, so she's currently lying in the lead with 8 to go. And among them is Alicia Rissling, her teammate, with Heather Moyse. So 29-year-old Riz, 39-year-old Heather Moyse, returning to World Cup action, the double Olympic champion brakewoman.
9th in this race last year. You know, the driver and brakeman got to hit that sequence exact. Come out of the blocks like that. And Riesling, who hurt her calf muscle, or her ankle, she's jumping out one of the trucks and hurt her ankle in training. She's limping badly. She says it only hurts her when she puts her heel down.
She had to sit in on the final day of training because it was so swollen she couldn't even get her spikes on. She said, if I can get my spikes on, I'll just put up with the pain, whatever.
So there's a race within a race. The Canadian at the bottom, the Canadian coming down. There's a lot of, you know, top 2 Canadian sleds, or the top 2 Canadian sleds will go to the games. No, top 3, right?
Depends how it all works out.
The
In the
Germans
end.
and
Yeah,
Americans, the Canadians are the 3rd country. This is the top.
Still got another couple of races to go. And all sorts of other decisions to be made. But 1600s in front.
Speed. Ooh, boy. Change of direction there, too.
Holding her lead over teammate Christine de Bruyn.
53, 69, 4. Everybody's going 300-400s better.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that. The top 3 nations, the top 2 nations will have 3 sleds. And that looks like Germany and the U.S.
2-4-2, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, the way it works is where your 2nd and 3rd sled are. If you're looking at 3, it's the best 2 third-placed nation sleds, if you follow my drift. It's where your 3rd sled is that decides whether you get a 3rd sled or not. And I think Canada and Germany, no question, are in. I think Canada will be 2nd.
I think it's the U.S.
Or maybe the USA, yeah, maybe US is 2nd and Canada might be.
You could see these pictures of the change of direction down there. We're going to see some sleds come down there that do not change direction.
Yeah.
The drivers just don't steer. It looks like a problem, but they get down safely.
Brittany Reinbold to the USA is the 3rd placed driver for the US team, and because she is currently lying 8th in the overall rankings, she will earn the US a 3rd sled spot if she can hold that position.
550 in the first run, 552 there. Asia Evans on the back, the University of Illinois track and field athlete. Her brother Fred, the defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings. Good athletic family here.
Asia bronze medalist in this race last year with Jamie Grubel-Poser. bringing speed to Brittany Reinbold's sled.
So far, pretty clean. 89.2s, not bad.
Close battle here with Alicia Rissling, just 100th in front after the first heat, and she's now just 200th in front, and that's very late.
That's going to really cost her. 101 kilometer speed is going to be diminished. She's in the red because of that mistake. 200, 119, not the speed, and they're a big change of direction. So a rough ride for Brittany Reinbold.
Yep, she's going to slip a spot, but only by 600ths of a second, so she only slips one.
Well, nobody has come through curve 9 today in the women's race as rough as that.
Yeah. All the ice build-up on the exit has been causing problems, and it caught her out there.
Well, you can see the body language.
Yeah. Slightly disappointed, but she's only slipped one spot. It'll still be no worse than an 8th place finish.
Well, watch this. A little late. Watch her come back up on the outlet, and you know, the runners are almost the back runners in the air, and you won't see anybody else, I would say, unless I jinx somebody. Worse line than that out of curve 9, and that cost her at least a 10th and at least one spot. 9th
in Lake Placid, 5th in Park City, the best of Brittany Reinbold's season so far, so this will be her 2nd best result. Next up is Jamie Grubel-Poser, last year's bronze medalist on this track. She won in 2013-14, bronze in 14-15. So in the last 3 World Cup races, she has not been off the podium. She was 6th in the first heat. 6th last weekend in Winterberg. Lies 3rd in the World Cup standings, the winner in Park City, silver in Whistler. Of course, last week, the USA didn't get their sleds to the night before the race. 5:52 start, exact same start as they had in the first run. And the same as their teammates in the second. Brittany Reinbold, Major Evans. So swapping around the brake women to try and make sure that all the US sleds have a good a chance as possible of scoring points. The only brakeman we haven't seen in these 2 weeks is Lolo Jones, who on this track always has great velocity. Yeah, she's got great leg turnover, and that's what you need as much as strength here. 16 out to only 17. Now, Riesling had 120 kilometer speed down below, and she had 101 there. Decent speed. 120 is the best. Coming down. 120, she's got it. 14, she's going to be the leader, but I think she's going to bleed a little bit back here, maybe. Tidier in the labyrinth than she was the last time down. So she takes the lead from Alicia Rissling and Heather Moyse. Heather Moyse, the two-time Olympic gold medalist from the back of Kelly Humphrey's sled. Heather Moyse posting pictures this morning of training in the garage yesterday. It's the unremitting glamour of this sport, isn't it? It's just so cold and gritty. Well, the start. Lauren Gibbs, Brown University volleyball player, and Jamie being a Cornell University heptathlete, Ivy Leaguers, and see, pretty smooth there, right? We've seen a lot of. It's pretty smooth, but good speed at the bottom. She's the leader. Lauren gashed her hand in the final day of training, but I was wondering whether she'd be fit to race. She clearly is. Jamie Grubel-Poser leads with 5 sleds to go in Innsbruck. 5 to go, Anna Kohler and Ann-Kristen Strack up for Germany. All 3 German sleds ranked in the top 5. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action with you in Innsbruck in Austria. Well, this is for a personal best. She's finished 8th last week in Winterberg. And this young athlete, you know, 3 Germans in the top 5. Wow. This is a... I don't think the Germans expected her to be in this position this quick. Not sure anybody did. This is only her 5th ever World Cup race as a driver. The 24-year-old from Dortmund, former skeleton slider. And she has a 500th advantage, so it's a tiny gap. Clean ride here. She'll be the leader at the bottom. She's starting to pull away. She did well the first run. And this looks pretty good. Not bad. 400s in front from the first heat. Now it's out to 800s. 1:05. Best speed. This is going to be her personal best ever. Yeah, best we've seen again. So a top 5 run guaranteed for Anna Kohler of Germany. 53.46. The Germans. 1100s better. Look at Reddy Spies. Yeah. He knows. Wow. Listen to the girls shout with delight. This is probably going to secure her spot in the Olympic Games. Personal best. That's Gert Leopold at the front of the sled. Delighted with that. He's there.
Sepp Dostetler right there.
In fact, it is. Yes, you're right. He's there.
Good starts, too. They were always saying she couldn't get good starts. She just matched the U.S. No, 400's behind the U.S.
556, you know. Yeah, but even on this track, she is able to drive ahead. New FES sled for all the 3 German women.
This cost her a little bit. Hit before the finish line. Couple hundred. The brakeman came up there pretty quick.
Well,
too.
she had her handles on the brakes ready to go, and then he hit the wall. She gets bounced out of the saddle. So Germany leads. Germany next up. This is Mariama Yamanka, the senior of the 3 drivers in her 3rd season as a driver. The first was a half season. She came in because of injury partway through the season. She's got Lisa Buchwitz behind her.
Both athletes born in Berlin. Both Army soldiers.
5:54 start, only 7th fastest.
Jamaica can drive. 5:48
5:48, that's a big difference.
The velocity coming up on the left is the telltale sign of this track. 49 kilometers.
Top. That's 30.4 miles an hour. Nobody's been close to that.
We said it before. She's been very impressive driving. She laxed at the start, but here she posted the best start time of the heat. Now she's challenging for a medal, and with a couple Americans and North Americans in front of her, this is the European Championships.
A 10th ahead of her teammate from the first heat. Now 3 tenths ahead of her teammate. This is a really nice drive from Yamanka.
102. First athlete we've seen with 102 in this heat.
63.5 miles an hour.
121.2. These are spectacular speeds.
Superb speed from the FES sled. She's going to take a comfortable lead. 4 tenths.
She went 3 tenths better. 2,900. Now there's Leopold on the left and Brenny on the right. That's, boy, the Germans are coming on here.
53.18 was the time that led in the first heat. So she has matched the fastest time we've seen today. That is a medal contending run. Look at her. She's looking slightly gobsmacked by that.
German athletes are performing at a high level. And these are all athletes who started driving after the Sochi Games. The entry into the sled, boy, they improved their start from the first to the second. Look at the technique with the brake, with the hands coming straight out and down in a perfect aerodynamic pose. And nothing wrong with that run.
Feeling no pain today, are they? There's Lisa Buchwitz on the left, Mariama Yamanka on the right. Big smile on her face. Look at that. I'm not sure she can quite believe she got the speed she did. Well, that really throws down the gauntlet to our double Olympic champion, Kaylee Humphries of Canada. Got 2 North American sleds in the top 3. Humphries with Felicia George making her first World Cup start as a brakewoman.
She's tied to the 100th right there with Jamaica. And, you know, that means the German's going to win the European Championships because you've got 2 North American sleds coming up.
And a German 1-2 and 1 German sled still to come.
Well, start 48, the Germans just posted. 49 by this Canadian duo in the first heat. 45, so they knew they had to turn it on and better starts. And the queen of the Olympic women's bobsled event is on the track, 48.9. Not the same velocity, though, as the German sled.
You've got a double Olympic champion from the Winter Games in the front, a double Summer Olympian sprinter in the back seat.
And red numbers, 200's back, 89.6.
Yamanka's run was stunning.
Stunning. Exit here of 9 is going to be crucial with Kaylee. She's going to have the perfect speed. I don't know.
That might cost her.
Real high at 10. She's a half a kilometer down. 1,200's back. 122 is good speed, but how good was Mariama Yamanka?
Yeah. Well, Kaylee's falling into the 4 tenths of a second gap between Yamanka and Anakola. So Mariama Yamanka is in the medals. Yamanka took the bronze last week in Winterberg. She will take at least bronze here. Kaylee Humphries and Felicia George slip into 2nd place.
Yeah, Yamanka 5.6433 minimum. Wow, she's coming on. Kaylee, this was not perfect, and Yamanka was. I mean, that wasn't bad, and she had the 2nd best speeds, but I just think Yamanka just did a grand slam here in the final run. Ooh, a little skid there, but a lot of people are doing that. The back end comes up. Watch the back end. And And that's skidding across the ice at 74 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour.
Humphries rethinking the run. 2 wins already this season for the defending double Olympic champion. Next up is Alana Myers-Taylor with Kerry Jones behind her. Little Miss Dynamite. And Alana Myers-Taylor, last year's race winner with Lolo Jones on the sled.
47 in the first run. I thought they'd be down in the low 40s like the Germans, but they weren't, so they could bust it out to low 40s here.
Steaming like racehorses at the top as they've been warming up, ready for the run. 5:42, fastest start.
500's better than their first run, and the speed, 49 kilometers is what the Germans had, 49 flat, so
30.5 miles an hour. That's faster than even Mariama Yamanka at the start. So she's opening up 1400ths of a second lead over Yamanka. She was 500 in front from the first heat. It's now 1500s.
That's pretty good speed there.
Top speed, 55.9 miles an hour. Quicker than Yamanka still.
Lost 100 back, though. Excellent out of 9. 101.5, that's not the speed Yamanka had.
No, she had 102.1 Yamanka.
Oh, that's 6, this is 120, this is going to be right to the 100th.
Very close. Will Mariama Yamanka move up to the silver medal position? No, not yet. Not yet.
Wow. Look at Brian Schuyler. Wow.
Wow is right.
Brian, we said wow too, Brian. So how, you know, what is it about the Germans? These 3 German athletes are coming out of nowhere in the last couple weeks.
Well, don't forget where they learn to drive. They learn on the European circuit, so they're more familiar with these tracks than the ones in North America.
These are only 3, 4-year-old drivers.
Yeah.
You know, the Americans and Kelly Humphries, the North Americans, are 6, 8-year plus drivers. This is out of Kreisel. Boy, she got out of there a little late, but doesn't look bad. Looks like she's going over into the curve where she wants to get on.
Alana
lost speed, lost time on the bottom part of the track.
Not off the podium yet this season, but never yet on the top step.
Well,
here we go. Well, this is for gold. This is for the European Championships, as well as a second World Cup win, potentially for Stephanie Schneider of Germany, with Annika Dracek on the back of the sled.
Another hurdler, 100-meter sprinter in the back. And they had a 5:41 in the first run. They might get into the 30s here.
Dracek, one of the outstanding brake women in the field, no question about it.
38!
Wow.
So Lana Myers used to be winning races in her time last season with the best starts. In fact, she won the World Championship.
That ties the all-time start record set by Alana Myers-Taylor and Asia Evans in January 2014.
Stephanie Schneider, last year in Whistler, start of the last season, broke her collarbone. They brought her back a month later in Winterberg, crashed again, broke her collarbone again. Came out, finished 7th in the World Championships. But here she is, medaled in Lake Placid. Then she went on to win last week in Winterberg, her first ever gold medal. And today, she's looking like a veteran pilot.
This is her 8th World Cup start as a driver. She won her 7th. She is going away from the field to win her 8th.
53.10. Wow.
She won last week.
The coaches are even surprised.
I can't believe it. She won last week by 2600ths. She wins this week by 3600ths over Alana Myers-Taylor.
I think Stephanie Schneider has arrived.
She's not coming any longer, is she?
No.
She's arrived. 8 starts as a driver. She's won the last 2 of them.
Well,
didn't take her long to learn, did it?
This is going to be a little wake-up call for the Kaylee Humphries, the Alana Myers, the Jamie Grubels, who were the top 3 at the Olympic Games in 14, top 3 at the World Championships last couple of years running. Well, there's a new kid on the block here.
And Annie Dracek with her on the back handles is a phenomenal trump card.
Well, when you have the best start at the top of the track, you have the best chance for the best time at the bottom. Stephanie Schneider and Anna Dracek tied the start record in the second heat. And on a track where you win by 5, 6, 8, 10 hundredths, they won by 3/10. Amazing. It's her second consecutive win. And Martin, we're impressed. The German coaches are impressed, and I'm sure the German media are going to be putting a lot of pressure on this girl on the Christmas break.
Well, both of these women have won World Championship gold medals as brake women. They are now European champions. There's Stephanie Schneider with the black beanie. Annie Dratzik closest to the camera, being congratulated by their teammates. Germany go 1-3-4 in the World Cup. 1-3-5 in the World Cup. They sweep the European Championship podium. Stephanie Schneider wins for the second straight win. I don't care what Santa Claus brings her, she's going to be very happy at Christmas. Alana Myers-Taylor by 100th ahead of Mariama Yamanka. Kaylee Humphries, the Olympic champion, in 4th. Anna Kola 5th, and Jamie Grubel-Poser in 6th position. And there are the rest of the finishers here in the 5th World Cup of the season. Well, spectacular day of racing. We were expecting there to be a gentle snowfall all day, as there was a couple of days ago, but that hasn't come. Stephanie Schneider, do you think you can believe what's happening right now? I mean, you saw Rennie Speace's face and Leah Leopold. I mean, they're struggling to believe it, and they're inside the team.
Well, she was hurt last year, broken collarbone. There's Thomas Schwab, the executive director of the German Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation. And, you know, I think the German coaches know that they had a chance. I don't think they realized they'd have a chance this quick.
European champions.
You know, Jamaica, they know, is a good driver, but Stephanie Schneider, they knew would be a good starter. And here they are.
Yeah.
I bet you they don't break up that pair the rest of the time. Those two are going to stay together.
What might she have done last year without that crash in training in Whistler? You know, her first time in Whistler.
2 crashes.
Yeah.
Broken collarbone, crashed again in Middleburg a month later.
But if it hadn't happened in Whistler,
she
what a
would have got.
season she might have had.
Well, where'd she be? Now she has the confidence.
Yeah.
And
boy,
confidence.
And then some.
Confidence. They win by 3/10 on this track. Wow.
And where do we go next time? First week out of Christmas, we're in Altenburg in Germany. Then we go to St. Moritz, where the start that they get won't hurt them in any way, shape or form. And then the final race, once all the Olympic selections have hopefully been decided, will be in Koenigsegg in Bavaria.
Mariana Yamanka, don't diminish her result there.
Listen, Germany 1-2-3 in the European Championships. They'll be very happy. All 3 German sleds again in the top 5. And they are racked up. Their lowliest driver in the rankings coming in here today was Anna Kola, 7th in the IBSF rankings. So the Germans are not coming. The Germans are here, and they're going to be one of the big nations to beat. Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup is done in Innsbruck. Kaylee Humphries, with 2 wins this season, continues to lead the standings, but look, by only 14 points from Alana Myers-Taylor. Jamie Grubel-Poser 3rd, Mariama Yamanka 4th, Stephanie Schneider in 5th, and teammate Anna Kola still in 7th. But the German girls racking up the points and closing in on the Christmas break leader, Kaylee Humphries. The double Olympic champion. Yeah, impressive stuff here in Innsbruck, Austria. And it was a 2nd win in a week for Stephanie Schneider of Germany. She won last Saturday, she won this Saturday, and she is the European champion. Germany sweep the podium. Misha McNeil and Mika Moore, the junior world champions, take 4th place.
You used to see that in men's bobsledding, but not in women's bobsledding. Look at how far
is this a women's luge race?
Really? That's pretty shocking.
Yeah, impressive stuff from all 3 German sliders, and especially from Stephanie Schneider. Well, with Annika Dratzik, she was always likely to get good starts, and here that is worth its weight in gold. And it was gold that they got. 5:38 getaway in the 2nd heat, tying the all-time start record set by Alana Myers-Taylor in 2014. Stephanie Schneider and Annie Dratzik, both world champion brake women. Not sure if they were both European championship brake women, but they are European champions together now. Well, whatever success they both achieved with the likes of Anja Schneider-Heinze, they are on another path of their own. Kerry Jones on the left, Alana Myers-Taylor taking the silver medal. On the right-hand side, Mariama Yamanka and Lisa Buchwitz. Yeah, that way, that way, that way. See, even the drivers and the brake women are guiding our flower presentation. There's Peter Van Vees of the IBSF, former skeleton slider. There's Mariama Yamanka and Lisa Bukwitz. Oh, and a little pre-Christmas tipple. That'll go very nicely on the family table for Christmas Day meals, I'm sure. Big smiles from Annie Dratzek with the Heidi pigtails and her driver Stephanie Schneider, the new European champions. Well, there is your final women's bobsleigh podium of 2017. We go now into a brief Christmas break because in the first weekend of January, we'll be back in action in Altenburg in Saxony. Till then, from John Morgan, the IBSF TV crew, and me, Martin Haven, thanks for being with us. Merry Christmas. We'll see you in Altenburg. But from Innsbruck, it's Auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.